So like many of you know, we moved from India 3 months ago and we moved with just our basic belongings. Now, the good news is that our belongings from India have finally arrived after 3 months. The bad news is, however, that they've not arrived in the best shape. If you're new to my channel, my name is Ashika, and on this channel we talk about tips on how to move to the UK. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do so. You can also follow me on Instagram at absolutely Ashika. So when most people move across countries, they usually don't take most of their luggage along with them. They leave it behind, they sell it, they get rid of it. But in our case, we decided to take some of our luggage behind, and we have a reason why. We'll get to it in a bit. Because the volume of the luggage was quite a bit, we decided to take it by ship. All right. Now, in what scenario do you decide to take your things or your belongings by ship when you're moving across the country? Number one, it could be when you have some belongings or furniture that is not easily available in the country that you're moving to, or you have some sort of personal attachment with them and don't want to leave them behind. The second reason could be that the value of goods you have are way more expensive in the UK or whichever country you're moving to, even after you've added the shipment cost to it. And the third reason is you're just plain lazy and you don't want to have to sell all of your belongings. So in terms of the process, with regards to taking your belongings from here to the UK, I think the first step you need to do is decide if you even want to take your belongings to the UK or not. It's a very tedious process, let me tell you in advance. So it's worth evaluating whether this is an additional task on top of everything else that you already have, whether you want to really take up this additional task or not. All right. And the second point is if you've decided, basis the first point, the first evaluation, if you decide that you do want to take your belongings along, the second point is to decide which of those belongings you actually want to take with you. Now, once you've decided which belongings you actually want to take along, the next step would be to actually identify vendors or shipment companies that can help you with this entire process. So you basically reach out to them, you drop them an email, you tell them what your requirements are, when you want to travel, all of that. And basis that, they will give you quotations. I will tell you who we decided to go with in the end, just in a bit. Hang on, all right? So after you contact these vendors, you then request for them to come to your house, visit your house, check out what stuff you want to actually ship, and basis the actual cubic feet that it's going to occupy in your container on the ship, they will give you a quotation of how much it's going to cost you. Now, this cost can be anywhere from a couple of thousands to a couple of lakhs. So it's extremely important for you to get your house evaluated so that they can give you a pretty precise quote of how much it's going to cost you. All right. The next thing is actual negotiations with the vendors. Once you receive your quote, you may decide that it's probably too high, or if you have a little leg room, if you had budgeted more for it, you can then decide what to add or what to drop basis the negotiations you have with these vendors. They're usually pretty flexible, so don't be afraid to get into some negotiations with them. Don't just leave it saying, no, this is written and we probably can't get a better deal. Please go ahead, try have a conversation with them, and you may realize they're able to accommodate you in some way or the other. Now, once you've finalized which vendor you want to go ahead with and you have your date ready and everything, comes the actual process of the packing, which can honestly depend in time basis the number of goods you have. Then you got to do all the documentation work because there's a lot of documents that are required for you to fill out because of customs and everything else. And the shipment company always helps you with that, so don't be too stressed about that. And then comes the actual weight, and the actual weight can vary anywhere from 1 month to 3 months, like in our case. Now, coming to the vendor we went with a vendor called WeShip. They're a company based out of Mumbai, but they have a branch in Bangalore as well. When we were having discussions with the WeShip team, we realized they're extremely responsive and they were always extremely accommodating. When the team came to evaluate the goods, they were extremely helpful. We gave them multiple options of what we would like to take. We were trying to adjust the cost and they were always very accommodating. And when the team came home to actually pack the goods, so they finished in record time because we had about 56 boxes of things that needed to be packed. And they honestly worked as fast as they could without compromising the safety of any of our items. So the experience with WeShip was brilliant. I will leave their details in the description box below in case you want to move to the UK or in case you have any doubts and you like to get in touch, please feel free to contact them. Okay. They work with a counterpart called Able or Ables in the UK, because WeShip is based out of India and they don't have an office in the UK. So they have a UK counterpart. Um, my experience with Ables was honestly not that great, simply because, like I've mentioned on Instagram, if you've been following my stories, we were actually left waiting for our shipment for 3 months, and one whole month was when our luggage was just sitting in Ables's warehouse, simply because they didn't have a truck coming this way. So we had to wait an additional month just because they had no trucks coming this way, and they weren't even open to having a conversation about how we could get our goods to get to us faster. So, not the best experience there. The team that came home, however, was extremely efficient and a very nice team to work with, but the team that manages the office work, not very impressed with them. So, if you do manage to use WeShip, if you want to shift your belongings, please check if they're going to be using Ables over here and ask if there are any alternates, or what you can do to avoid falling into the same trap that we fell into of having to wait an extra month just because the company over here wasn't very accommodating. In our case, we opted for a door-to-door. So a door-to-door service is when they basically come to your house, they pick up everything from your house, pack all of it, they bring all of the packing materials with them, and they then take it to the shipment container. They handle all the duties in the meantime and all the customs and all of that. And then finally, when it reaches the UK, they deliver it to your house, they unpack everything, and they take packaging along with them. So that's what we had opted for. It's called door to door. So what's included in this cost? This cost includes the team coming to your house, evaluating the house, packaging, and taking away of all of the goods from your house, including labor and transport. It includes all the transportation costs to get your shipment to the port. It includes customs. It includes transportation from the port in UK to your house. It includes labor cost from the port in UK to the warehouse, and from the warehouse to your house. It includes unpacking of everything in your house, and clearing of all of the debris once the unpacking is done. So, what documents are you going to need if you plan on moving your furniture or your belongings to the UK? So, you need to submit your passport to the moving company. You need to submit a packing list. Now, the packing list is extremely important, especially when it comes to A, keeping a track of what items you've sent, and B, for customs. Customs requires you to mention each and every item that you're sending. So for instance, if you are sending a TV and 2 speakers, you have to mention 1 TV, 2 speakers, and the brands of each of these speakers. But if you are sending 20 pairs of clothes, you can just write 20 pairs of clothes. You don't have to mention how many jeans or how many t-shirts you have. So if you have a lot of kitchen items, you'll have to mention 20 plates or 5 pieces of glasses or glassware and 5 utensils. You have to be as specific as that. You then need to give an authority letter for customs, and whoever is your shipping company will help you with the format of that, so don't break your head over that too much. You'll also have to submit your ticket and your boarding passes and documentation to show that you have left the country, because if you don't leave the country, your shipment cannot move from the original port. Now, the next thing is extremely important. A TOR application. So the TOR application is required to be done when you're moving anything from India to the UK. So if you're moving your pets, you need a TOR application. If you're moving your belongings, you need a TOR application. You basically have to go to gov.uk's website and fill in the application form over there. It's a relatively simple process. It's a little time consuming, but it's nothing that's too challenging and that can't be done. Once you fill out your TOR application, you'll get a URN number. Unless you have this number, you cannot ship either your goods or send your pets over from India to the UK. So it's extremely important that you get this done. The shipping company cannot fill this out on your behalf. So you have to personally do this yourself. I've left the link below in case you want to know more about your TOR application in the description box. And the next thing you need to provide them with is your work permit for the UK and your residency agreement. In most cases, if you are moving to the UK, you're not going to have a residence agreement before you get there. You're not going to know where you live because you're typically going to go to the UK and then look for accommodation. So what you can give them is your hotel or your Airbnb's address, and they can use it in the interim just to fill out all the customs work. And once you do get your own accommodation, your own house in the UK, please do give the address to the shipping company so they can actually send it to the right address. And what they will ask you to do is at least decide on which town or city you want to live in. Don't try and change that address too much once you get here, because it might have an impact on the code that they've given you. With regards to the TOR, we actually filled out our TOR after coming here for one simple reason. We didn't know whether we'd be staying in Maidenhead or in St. Albans, which is something you might have seen from my earlier videos. And the application would change and the details would change basis this. So we were kind of hanging on till the last minute, and also we had to submit the rental agreement in our case. You can also try giving an Airbnb address and seeing if that works for you. But because we were confused between towns, we left the TOR to be filled out until we got here and got the house, and that's when we filled it out. It takes a couple of days for your application to get processed. So if you are in a hurry or if you have a deadline that you have to meet, please remember to fill it out a bunch of days in advance, at least a week in advance if you have a tight deadline of needing to move something within a week. So to give you an indicative cost, we shipped about 990 cubic feet worth of goods, and that cost us slightly above 4 lakhs. And this was a 20-foot container. Now, quick hack on in case you want to lower the quote that you've received, you can always opt for sharing a container or having your own individual container. If you'd like to lower your cost, share a container with somebody else. And the only flip side to that is that you might have to wait a little longer for your goods to leave the country, because you'll be waiting for the other person in case they're going after you. And you might have to also wait a little longer in terms of getting the actual delivery. But the options are, there's a 20-foot container and there is a 40-foot container. And in each of these containers, you can also share the container. So be aware of the options and please ask your shipment company to give you all of these options while they give you a quote. Now, a couple of things you need to keep in mind before you make this big decision on whether you should move your goods or not. One, it can get really expensive. We started off with quotes from 6 lakhs and 7 lakhs from multiple vendors. We had to cut a lot of items on our list and leave a lot of things behind because it was getting really expensive. So this is something you should opt for, like I said earlier, only if you can't get those goods over here, or if you have a very strong sentimental value attached to something, or if there's any very strong reason, or if your company is paying for it. The second thing you need to bear in mind is your goods are going to take about 1 to 3 months to get here. And that is quite a lot of time. So that also means you don't ship belongings or items that you would need immediately. So you don't ship your beds because you're going to have to come here and buy beds. You can't wait for 3 months for beds, right? You don't ship your sofa or your tables and chairs. We shipped our sofa for different reasons, but that's a different point. But don't ship anything that you would need immediately. Another very important thing, don't take anything that is brand new along with you. Don't take anything with tags, because the shippers will actually ask you to take the tags off. You're not really allowed to take any brand new goods into the UK. You'll have to pay customs over them. So it's extremely important that you don't take anything that is brand new if you don't want your shipment to get stuck at customs. The other thing that you need to keep in mind is something we read on the TOR application. You aren't really allowed to sell any of the belongings that you've got from India to the UK for a period of 6 months to 1 year. So because these items are supposed to be your personal items and they're not items for sale, you aren't really allowed to sell them. So don't come to the UK and then try to dispose of your things on Marketplace or on eBay. Please don't do that because customs will probably contact you. Alright, so that is about it. That was our entire journey on how we got our goods from India to the UK. Extremely tiresome process. We've just spent the past 4 days cleaning everything. If I were to do it again, I don't think I would take my belongings along. I would probably sell them off, despite the effort that is required to do that. Lesson for me, I guess, but nevertheless, it wasn't a bad process. It was just really tiring. So keep that in mind if you do decide to move your shipment, if you do decide to move your things to the UK. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, please do so. You can also follow me on Instagram at absolutelyashika. In case you have any questions on moving to the UK, please feel free to message me either here or on Instagram. A couple of you have. I hope I have been able to help you. So if you have any questions, do feel free to hit me up. If you have also considered using a different vendor and you'd like to know if we reached out to them as well, you can also write out to me and I will try my best to help you in any way possible. Anyway, thank you for watching and have a great week.